It is always great to be with our guests. He is the head of the Valhalla Project, and he is also the author of numerous books, including Separated at Birth, which is how North Korea became the evil twin. He's also covered Gitmo, Inside Gitmo, and his latest book, released in 2011, co-authored by his lovely wife, Chris, is about the military police in Afghanistan. And he joins us now. Welcome, Colonel.
Oh, good to be on, Crane. Thanks for having me on AFR.
Absolutely. Let's jump right in here. Yesterday, the testimony of General Lavelle, and he was asked about Benghazi. In light of the information that we learned through Judicial Watch, information that was previously redacted about the YouTube video, many questions have been raised about that evening, specifically what took place and was there an opportunity to save any of the 4 murdered Americans, including our ambassador. Here is that question response, Representative Chaffetz asking. Roll it.
Did they actually go to the sound of the guns? Did they actually go into Benghazi?
No, sir, those assets did not.
Why not?
Basically, there was a lot of looking to the State Department for what it was that they wanted, and in the deference to the Libyan people and the sense of deference to the desires of the State Department in terms of what they would like to have.
Did they ever tell you to go save the people in Benghazi?
Not to my knowledge, sir.
We didn't run to the sound of the guns. They were issuing press releases. We had Americans dying. We had dead people. We had wounded people. And our military didn't try to engage in that fight. Would you disagree with that?
The gentleman's time has expired. The gentleman may answer on any of the questions if you didn't think you got enough time to answer fully.
4 individuals died. Sir, we obviously did not respond in time to get there.
Could we have?
The gentleman's time has expired. Go ahead.
We may have been able to, but we'll never know.
Because we didn't try.
I think that
Because we didn't try was Representative Chaffetz, retired general. He served at U.S. Africa Command headquarters in Germany during the attack. And some have said that the general speculation on that, they disagreed with the opportunity to save. Colonel, I go to you. Your thoughts on that exchange as well as Benghazi as an issue and as a tragedy that we have seen unfold before our eyes.
I think this is. I think there's multiple layers of this tragedy. You know, obviously at the top are the people that we lost. The other layers of this crane are things that involve being lied to by our government, a military that was hamstrung, that was not even allowed to attempt to rescue or even a show of force. It's been said many times that if we had flown a couple of fighter jets at rooftop level over that mob, that it may have broken them up enough in time to either get the ambassador out or to save the lives of the 2 security guards who had volunteered, by the way, to go back and try to help. Whether that's true or not, we'll never know, but we don't know because we never tried. And I think at the core of this thing that's got me so upset is that we've got an administration who concocted a calculated disinformation campaign, executed that disinformation campaign, has stood by that disinformation for really years, and has now adopted the attitude of that displayed by then Secretary Hillary Clinton. What difference does it make? One of the administration spokespeople was on the air yesterday saying, "Hey, dude, that stuff's 2 years old. Who cares?"
Actually, we have that for you, sir. And it is
really,
and,
yeah. Well,
yeah,
I'm not surprised because you guys are pretty thorough.
Well, and the reason of playing this is, Colonel, I've never served a day in uniform. You've served in wartime. You served throughout your life. You've made it your mission. I know this sounds hokey, but why I contacted you way back when was you made it your mission to serve those that served with you and honor those that have served. You wrote the book for those that were forgotten in the forgotten war, and obviously family. And you hear this NSC spokesman Tommy Vietor speaking about this last night on Special Report with Brett Baer. Roll it.
Talking about. According to the emails and the timeline,
Sure.
the CIA circulates new talking points after they've removed a mention of Al-Qaeda.
Yeah.
And then at 6:21, the White House, you,
Me.
add a line about the administration warning of September 10th of social media reports calling for demonstrations. True?
I believe so.
Did you also change attacks to demonstrations in the talking points?
Maybe. I don't really remember.
You don't remember?
Dude, this was like 2 years ago. We're still talking about the most mundane
it is the thing
process
that everybody is talking about.
We're talking about the process of editing talking points. That's what bureaucrats do all day long. Your producers edit scripts
the key
multiple
part is
times.
Attacks to demonstrations.
Yeah.
Did you do that?
No. What is the question? Did I edit
the CIA
attacks?
talking points, it was edited from attacks to demonstrations.
No, Michael Morales testified about what he changed.
Colonel.
Yeah, that's typical of this administration, and I think what to eliminate the listening audience a little bit more, those talking points that came from CIA had already been drastically modified from what the agency analysts put up to the 7th floor at Langley by the political appointees at CIA. So they were already modified, and the whole idea of an Al-Qaeda-based coordinated complex attack on the embassy, which it was already being downplayed. Then when it got to these political gerbils over in the White House, in the National Security Council, who were more interested in re-election campaigns, being on good terms with the movers and shakers, and keeping their job with the Obama administration, you could hear by that clip, Crane, they downsized it, if you will, even further. They made it even more milquetoast. The attacks to demonstrations, and then at the same time, this intentionally false narrative about some obscure video that had been out months before, that was somehow the trigger mechanism for this, what they tried to describe as protests and demonstrations, is absolute nonsense. Everyone knew from the get-go that this was a complicated and well-planned and well-executed attack. There's been some speculation, and I have no inside knowledge about that the reason that Ambassador Stevens was in Benghazi in the first place was to meet with the Turkish ambassador to grease the skids for Libyan arms going to the Syrian rebels. I would like to see that avenue explode a lot more because, as I said, I'll put the caveat on it, I have no inside information on this, but given the way that this administration operates and the way that it operated later in the Syrian crisis, that is a very plausible scenario. And so we've been told that Stevens may have been a target for a kidnapping and ransom. We've been told a lot of things, but it would help a lot to clear the air on this if we'd at least have some honesty from what was supposed to be billed as the most transparent administration in history. Well, we've all seen that that's nonsense. And so we've got dead Americans, which is bad enough, but dead abandoned Americans where we didn't even make the slightest effort, not even a symbolic effort to come to their assistance. And I think that's inexcusable and in the long term unforgivable.
Our commander-in-chief, we had questions, where was President Obama? That actually came to light during this interview, which is fascinating. I will post the entire interview along with the Valhalla website, by the way. I've posted a piece on it up on the website, on the Facebook page. But here is that exchange when the president was, we learned that he wasn't in the Situation Room. Roll it.
The ground testified that they knew where the ambassador was, that they were very military in their precision.
I remember,
it was not guys that were coming to protest. They had mortars and heavy weapons.
Brett, a couple of things. One, I was in the Situation Room that night, okay, and we didn't know where the ambassador was definitively. In fact,
was the president in the Situation Room?
No, and the fact that your network at one time reported that he watched video feed of the attack as it was ongoing is part of what I think has been
let me get to the
pattern of inaccurate.
Where was the president?
In the White House. Let me finish my initial statement. Okay, the notion that we could, divine motives from a drone feed, I think, is wrong. And I also think that this idea that the military had the capability to rescue those individuals but chose not to, I think is extremely unfair to the military, and Admiral Mullen said basically the opposite.
In the ARB report.
Yeah.
Where was the president?
In the White House.
He wasn't in the Situation Room.
At what point in the evening? I mean, he was constantly.
Any point in the evening.
You know, it's well known that when the attack was first briefed to him, it was in the Oval Office, and he was updated constantly. And during that briefing, he told Tom Donilon and his Joint Chiefs and his SecDef to begin moving all military assets into the region.
So then when Hillary Clinton talks to him by phone at 10 p.m., he's where?
I don't know. I don't have a tracking device on him in the residence.
But you were in the Situation Room and he wasn't there?
Yes, I was in the White House.
And the president was not in the Situation Room?
Not in the room I was in.
Okay. And soon after the phone call that Hillary Clinton...
You don't have to be in a Situation Room to monitor an intelligence situation. The PDB is in the Oval Office.
We've never heard where the president was.
We can talk about PDBs too, a presidential daily briefing. But that said, Colonel, do you believe the president was engaged at all levels here? Is it?
I'm not sure he was engaged at any level, and I think that's really despicable. Also, I think, when no one's brought up about this, because I'm glad you played that thing about he wasn't in the Situation Room, because I was going to bring that up next, too. What do I think? I think the man was considerably more engaged in the fundraiser he was going to have the next day out in Las Vegas than he was in what was happening in Benghazi. Let's also address the remark that was made on there, you can't determine motive by a drone. They didn't need to determine motive. It didn't matter at the time whether that mob was motivated by videos, which we know was bogus, whether they were motivated by a desire to kill, to attack, whether it was Al-Qaeda sponsoring them, Hamas, Hezbollah. None of that mattered. What really mattered was the behavior that was going on at the time, which was very perceptible from the drone. And that behavior was consistent with what a complex attack looks like. Units maneuvering, support weapons like machine guns and mortars being brought into play, that was very discernible from a drone. You didn't have to go down there and find out who had a membership card in Al-Qaeda to know that there was an attack going on and that this wasn't some sort of sign-carrying protest out there. So that's, again, that kind of comment intentionally distracts the listener, the intended audience, from what the real issue is, which is that they knew there was an attack immediately, just like everybody else. They withheld, for reasons of their own, that I won't try to speculate about, but they definitely withheld permission for the military to respond. In fact, many people speculate that General Ham was replaced from AFRICOM because he had said to heck with it, I'm not going to pay any attention to these orders. I'm going to go ahead and do what I know is right, and was relieved on the spot by his deputy at the authorization of the White House, of the Secretary of Defense. And so how we're going to solve this muddle, how we're going to peel the onion back and get at the core of this, I don't know. Because right now there seems to be zero interest in the media for doing this.
Even
and
with
for
these
those of us who have
yeah.
longer memories and can remember back to the Watergate days, I can tell you for sure that no evening news program opened up, no front page of any newspaper in this country hit the streets without Watergate, Watergate, Watergate all over the front of it. And nobody died in Watergate. There were no international scandals involved in Watergate.
Yes, sir.
But yet they beat Nixon up over this thing, and I'm not a Nixon defender necessarily.
Gotcha. Yes, sir. And yeah, Lieutenant Colonel Gordon Cucullu, he is president of the Valhalla Project. We will put that up on the Facebook at the top of the hour, along with a full interview that we just played, AFR Talk.